We have a special guest for this live today. Her name is Angelica, and she is part of the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle. She's contributed her Yin Yoga course for beginners. So if you want to explore some Yin Yoga, grab the bundle. Link is in my bio. You only have 3 days left, 3 days and a couple hours left to get the bundle. It's over soon, so if you want it, get it now. You can leave the live, go get it, and then come back and join in for the conversation. Talk to her today again. She's amazing. We're just waiting for her to join in. Here we go.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going? Good. How has everything been with the bundle? Have you been doing more lives? And
I've been graduating people from yoga teacher training. So
yes.
I had a live with Natural Minta. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I did a live with
her
just like 2 hours ago.
So wonderful.
She's amazing.
She's fabulous. I love her. Yeah, so all weekend I was graduating people from yoga teacher training, so I'm really glad that that is finished now, and I can focus fully back on my online life with my online yoga teacher trainees and back on the bundle. And I actually just had your book open because this afternoon I'm going to the grocery store, and I really want to make this everything but the bagel wrap that everyone, that's like the one that everyone, I see it on everyone's feed. Everyone's making that wrap. Here it is. I was like, where is it? It's right here. So I was like, I gotta get the stuff for it. Yeah.
Yes, you do. That's one of the best. We had that one on top of the mountain yesterday. We hiked up. Yeah, Gas Peak. Have you done that one?
No. I've done
Peak.
Cathedral Rock.
Okay.
But I haven't done that one. You'll have to send me. Where do you get all the trails? Because I haven't been able to really locate where the trails are. Oh, it's on All Trails?
All Trails.
Oh, okay. Yep. I have All Trails. I just never looked there. I've been just using Google like it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So what we do, because we're doing the 52 challenge, right? So every Sunday we choose a new hike and we go explore. We did Gas Peak 2-3 weekends ago, but the reason we chose it yesterday to do it again, it's a challenging one. It's like 3,000 feet of elevation gain. So it's a hard hike. And it's really steep too. Like you need poles for that one.
I have 2 sets of poles, so
yeah.
That's good.
Nice. But the reason we did that one is because at the top of that one, there's a cell tower, and I know EMF, whatever, but we were able to go live because it was like
I
perfect
saw
internet.
I watched
so we're like,
it was really clear. Yeah, I heard you and Nate talking about thinking about doing a relationship course.
What do you think?
I think, relationships are really complicated. And I think that people let other people into the relationship too much. And I think that ultimately your relationship is with your person. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Actually, it's interesting that we're talking about it because I'm thinking about it a lot. And I feel like a lot of the reason why we pick everything that we do in life has to do with the thoughts that we were raised with and the way in which we dealt with what happened in our childhood. So there's a book called The 4 Agreements by Miguel Ruiz, and it talks about our filter. Okay. And this is all very deep in yogic philosophy as well. The Yoga Sutras talks about how we all have a filter in which we see the world. And one of our jobs as yoga teachers and as yogis is to recognize other people's filter and respect that that's how they see the world. And there are 4 ways to deal with people. And if someone is happy, to just enjoy in their happiness. If someone is struggling, to help them. But if someone is being wicked, to like completely ignore them is another part of the Yoga Sutras. But it talks about these filters, and in the Yoga Sutras philosophy, it's Prusha, which is the real self, and Pratriki, which is the world. Okay, in the world, the Pratriki comes on to us, and it makes this filter for us. So I've been thinking a lot about how our whole lives are really set up around this Pratriki, right? So we have this filter. Okay, so for instance, I'm a very motivated, goal-oriented person who always needs something next to do. And I remember when I opened my yoga studio feeling an overwhelming sense of disappointment, that this was it. Like, this is it. And I've actually been struggling a little bit with that this year as I've become more successful online, because I'm like, oh, now I just have to do what I've been trying to do, you know? And it was the same with the studio. Like, oh, now I made the studio. But because my whole view, right? My pratriki of the world is goal oriented. What's my next goal? What's the next thing that I'm going to do? And I realized that the reason why that is because when I was growing up, I grew up in a very, my parents were very young and they were not ready to have children. And I grew up in a household with alcoholism and abuse, and my only escape was daydreaming and thinking all the time about how my life was going to be so much better when I got out. And I spent all of my time vision working and making visions in my mind every day about what I was going to create and how wonderful my life was going to be. And it has been. I have had a very wonderful, incredible life. But that pattern of behavior, that pattern of thought, that way in which I view the world has perpetuated into something different now, which is goal orientation in a career. Now, that doesn't mean that it's bad, right? It's not bad. It's just my filter. And we all have this. You have a filter in which you see the world. And if you really sit back and think about what your childhood was like, then you'll start to realize that your filter was formed by that. Whether it's good or it's bad, it's something you want to change, it's something you want to keep. Like, I want to keep mine. I'm okay with being very goal-oriented. But recognizing that that's there is like understanding Prusha and Pratriki, right? And when we think about the Yoga Sutras, all these concepts in the Yoga Sutras, they are repeated over and over in modern literature. Miguel Ruiz, Four Agreements, he writes about that. Joe Dispenza, he's writing the same kinds of things in his Becoming Supernatural about how the mind can create the reality that we live in. And truly, like, we have these realities that we're living in, and we think that they're real. But the reality is that it's just our thoughts that make them real. Because you and I, even though we're very alike and we love each other and we enjoy being with each other, we see the world through a different lens. And that comes from everything that we've had up until this point. And we can actually choose to make changes in that according to the Yoga Sutras and according to like Miguel Ruiz and Joe Dispenza and you know, even Descartes, like all of these philosophers. We are the allegory of the cave by Plato, you know, where people think that it's that it's only this reality that they're working in this cave, but then they get out and they can't even believe that there's like something beyond shadows. And it's like, we see the world this whole way, and everything that we're talking about, everything that we're doing in the bundle and trying to create better lives for ourselves and shifting to this raw vegan perspective is all about seeing through a new lens of Pratriki. And there's no positive, there's no negative. There's only this lens. And so to get back to what we were talking about, relationships, what I realized was that the person that we've chosen because of this lens that we have, and that they fit into this lens. And as we change and evolve, that lens changes and evolves. And that person may not change and evolve with us in that lens. So we have to decide, we going to keep with this person, even though their lens hasn't changed in the lens that we've changed in? Or the other thing is, do we recognize that shifting to another person will only recreate the same situation? We're just shifting lenses. Now, if the shift is massive and major, that's a different thing. Maybe, you know, like for me, I've been making small shifts to my lens. So there's no need for me to go and find a different person to be with, because my person is also making small shifts to his lens. But if we diametrically changed our core being of what we believe, like say I decided I wanted to be a nun, or I wanted to go and live in the mountains, or I wanted to become a lesbian now, you know, like, because I had a core belief that I was repressing that, because that happens to people, that they, you know, they're really actually attracted to the same sex, and they just always pushed it down because the Patricky lens, you know, I'm not saying that they weren't born that way, they probably were, and they just didn't allow themselves to express that. If that massively changed, then yes, maybe making a change in a partner makes sense. But I think that when the answers are all within us, and that for sure, like you and Nate could make a course on relationships and people could benefit from it.
Yeah.
But I think it's also important for people to recognize that these are all just tools. All the books I just talk about are tools. Your course would just be a tool. Ultimately, they have to make the decision for themselves. They have to decide if they're going to put in the work in a relationship, or they're going to shift into something new. And maybe that means not even being in a relationship. I don't know. It's different for every person, right? So I think we shift away from introspection and ajna chakra. We shift away from that often. And we think that the answer is on the outside. But those things are just tools that help us to find the answer within. So we have to remember the answer is always within, and it doesn't matter how many courses you take or how many books you buy. You've got to ultimately make the decision to buy the ingredients and make the wrap, right?
I love that. Wow, that was deep. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, Nate's back there. He's washing some dishes. Yeah, that was awesome. It really does ultimately boil down to your choice. And Nate and I have been talking about this a lot. We talked about it while we were climbing the mountain, how a choice is just a choice. Like people say, like, I made a mistake and I fell off my diet, or I made a mistake because I didn't practice yoga for a week, or I didn't go to the gym, or I went to bed late, or whatever it is. They call it a mistake, but in reality, it's just a choice. And to let go of the label of having to label it as like a good choice or a bad choice, it just was a choice, and you just experience the results of that choice. That's really all it is. It's just experience and choice and experience and choice, and not to like put any labels on it. Another thing too is labeling progress, because I saw this one reel, I think we talked about this last time, I'm not sure, but when people label progress, like with yoga, for example, it's called a yoga practice for a reason. It's not a yoga perfect. There's no end goal. You just practice it every day. And progress, people like to label it like slow progress or fast progress. And it's like, but progress is just progress, whatever that looks like. So instead of labeling everything, we need to just accept what is, realize that we're just making choices in our life, and we can learn from the choice. We learn from eating the pizza, and we learn from eating the salad. Which one do you like better? And then just keep choosing the one that makes you feel better instead, right? Like, so instead of labeling it, because when you start labeling things, you start comparing things, and comparison is the thief of joy. So instead of that, like, it's hard for our minds to let go of the labeling. It's really hard, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. It really is just a repetition.
Embracing that this is our journey. This is your journey on this planet. My journey isn't the same as your journey. We have different journeys. There's this thing called the karma saya. And in each lifetime we put things into the karma saya. And in each lifetime, things come out of the karma saya. And it's this vessel. Think of it as a vase. And inside of this vase are all your karmas. There is no instant karma. It's not like John Lennon said. It's over lifetimes. And our goal is to, each time we're on the journey of the planet, to take some of these karmas. So if you were a very giving person in your last lifetime, in this lifetime, it's likely that you will experience much abundance. If you were a miser in your past lifetime, then it's likely that you'll experience much lack in this lifetime. Now, does that mean that it's deterministic and we can't change it? No, it doesn't mean that. It means to recognize that these are just karmas and practice non-attachment. So, you know, it's like we were talking today. One thing that really bothers me is when people make calls with me to meet and talk about my training, and then they no-show, or they make up an excuse that's like very obviously not true. It's disruptive to my day when someone doesn't show up and I'm sitting on a Zoom waiting for them, right? But as I also said to you, I now practice non-attachment around that, because then I think, well, not even like thinking on the bright side, which would be like, well, maybe they wouldn't be someone who is dedicated to the program. And I also don't like that, you know? Like, I want to work with people who are really dedicated to changing other people's lives and want to change their own lives and use yoga as a conduit to find happiness, right? Those are the people that I'm looking to work with. I want to work with people who actually want to do this and I can help them. So, you know, there's a way to look at the bright side, but also just to think like, well, this is it. This is how it is. Acceptance is the answer. You know, they say that in all the 10-step or 12-step programs. It's the 10 commandments and the 12 steps. They say that in all the 12-step programs, though, that acceptance is the answer, right? Which all this comes from the Yoga Sutras philosophy. Everything that's in the big book of AA also is in the Yoga Sutras. It's all the same philosophies written by a different person from a different lens at a different time, but it's all the central same ideologies that we just need to put in practice in our life. Practice non-attachment, be good to other people, be caring to others, be, you know, try to do the right thing, try to care for yourself. You know, like, keep knowing that it's a practice, that it's not a perfect, that everything we're trying to create in our lives is just this ongoing effort of the journey on this earthly plane and just enjoying it. And it can be gone so fast. Yeah. It can be gone so fast. And so if we were in the reason why for me personally that I eat vegan, and I mean, there's many reasons, but one of the main reasons I eat vegan, and one of the main reasons that I incorporate raw veganism into my life, is because I want to have physically a more active and wonderful life. I want to, you know, I'm almost 50 and I'm still able to do yoga. I still have movement in my joints, you know. It's like I want to even incorporate even more so that I can do more hikes, you know, like so that I can enjoy life, so I can run with my dog, so that my day isn't spent feeling sick, but instead my day it's spent feeling joy. And I think that's the thing that, you know, it's about. Like, health really is the wealth, because it's very, if you're unhealthy, immediately that's the only thing you can think about. And if we start to think about what happens after we eat foods and what we're ingesting into our body, and not just foods that we're ingesting into our body, but what happens after we eat a movie that's like filled with drama? What happens after we've spent an hour on TikTok scrolling through? You know, how are we creating our reality through these things that we're doing? And how do we want to shift it? And really putting the thought into how do we want to shift our lives and make our lives really good and joyful? Because if we lose our health, if the life is over, then that's it. We've lost it. You know, life isn't about getting up and going to work. It isn't about rushing out the door. It isn't about having arguments with your partner. It is not about how many children you can have. It is not about following whatever religion. It isn't about those things. It's about pure joy. And I think we lose that often. And so when we incorporate things like all the resources that are in this bundle, we incorporate them into our lives. When we incorporate yoga into our lives, when we incorporate eating living raw foods, when we incorporate things like gardening and growing our own food, and you know, if we don't have space for a garden, we can do microgreens. You can get Nate's microgreen course, and you can grow microgreens in your own. I have a friend that lives on a boat. She grows microgreens. You know, like you can do it anywhere. And so when we incorporate these things into our life, we're bringing pure joy into the life. And then it's no longer about like what's the right thing to do, but it's more about what brings me joy. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I love that contrast. Yeah, because we live in such a black and white like thought world where it's like we have to do this and we can't do this and we need to do this and blah 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 blah. Like it's like this whole like do what brings you joy. If eating a salad feels good, eat that. If doing yoga feels good, do that. Like doing it because we want to instead of because we have to or we need to, because then it becomes like a chore and it's not as enjoyable. But when we get excited about something, when we want to do something, when we learn something new, it gets exciting. That's how we really truly enjoy our life. I wanted to ask you to dive into the 8 limbs of yoga, because we were talking about those a little bit, but like the 8 limbs and how those, it's so much more than just the poses. Because like so many people think yoga is just the poses or even just meditation, but there's so much more to yoga. So can you dive into that?
Many times on our lives, we've talked about ahimsa, which is the first step of the yamas and the niyamas. So yoga is an 8-limbed path. It's called the 8 limbs of Ashtanga yoga. So ashta means 8, anga means limb. So it's Ashtanga yoga. Yoga means union. So it's these 8 limbs of yoga. So the first of the 8 limbs are the yamas. And the yamas are the things that we want to do in our life, all right? So we want to practice ahimsa, nonviolence. And ahimsa, in all traditional texts, not in modern texts. Modern texts, people like to make it whatever they feel like making it, but in all the traditional texts, ahimsa always means vegetarianism. It means not consuming animals, because when we eat animals, we're making a graveyard of our body. We're putting into our body the fear, pain, and suffering that these animals ate while they were being murdered in the slaughterhouse or on your small farm, whatever. I grew up on a small farm, so the idealist small farm is just complete BS. That's not a thing. The animals suffer just as much. No one wants to die before their time. No one wants that. Not even a pig, not even a cow. No one wants that, not even on a small farm, not on a big farm. I feel like a Dr. Seuss book right now, but don't eat the green eggs and ham. They're green because they're spoiled. Okay, so, but nonviolence also means not being violent to the self, being loving and self-caring, not being violent with others, choosing the words that you surround yourself with, choosing the books that you read, choosing the movies that you watch. Nonviolence is so much bigger, right? Satya is the second of the yamas, and it is truthfulness. So not lying, being truthful with our words. It also means not being harmful to others with our truth. So not just, I tell the truth because, you know, I see it how it is, and, you know,
Boasting. Right. And being ego-based with the truth. No, I see that a lot. Like people will have like their perspective or their idea of what something is, and then they almost like come across as like they're trying to school you, or they're bullying you because you might not believe the same thing they do. And that absolute statements too can be really detrimental, because it's like nothing in life is an absolute. I mean, right? So like having absolutes and trying to convince people using the ego,
Well,
from
that
coming
comes
from the
back to what we
ego,
talked about in the
that
beginning.
can,
Your Patricky, your view of the world is not my view of the world. We have different views, and it takes
yeah.
a big person to recognize that it's entirely possible that you and I have different views of the world and that we're both right. Yeah.
That's a hard one to like wrap the mind around, because we're so taught, again, like this is 100%
Right. There is
the
no
way,
right way.
or
There's a
whatever.
right way for Angelica. There's a right way for Lissa. There's a right way for Nate. There's a right way for Paul. There is no one right way, right? Everyone has their way. So the third of the yamas is asataya, or not stealing. So not taking what isn't freely given. And this is more than just like not going to the store and stealing something off the shelf. This is not stealing someone's energy or time. It's ethics around, you and I both work online, and there are a lot of people who want something for free. And both you and I give a lot of value for free. We give a lot out for free, a lot of resources for free. But if you're getting a certain amount of value from someone, at some point, it's ethical as a yogi to reciprocate that energy in some way. Now, that doesn't always have to be monetary, but think about it this way. My landlord doesn't take avocados. So you can't reciprocate to my landlord with energy Reiki healing. Like, my landlord doesn't want that. He wants money. And why does he want money? Because he has to pay for other houses that he owns to get a hot water heater. And Lowe's doesn't take avocados or energy healing, right? So now, that's
True.
not to say that can't, a friend of mine came over and did Reiki on me the other day, and I'm helping her with her sales funnel. Like, those kinds of energy exchange can happen for sure. But there's nothing wrong with monetary exchange, because all it is a symbol that's then being used for a different symbol, right? So if you're getting value from somebody, support them. If you like what Lissa's doing, if you like what I'm doing, grab the bundle. It supports us both, and you get tons of value, right? So this is what we're talking about when we're talking about non-stealing. It's not stealing energy either, and we found that there's been some studies on the science of happiness. And it's actually a book called The Science of Happiness. That's a fascinating book. But they talk about how we always want to reach balance. We always want to reach a state of you and I are even, which is why when you come over for dinner, right, you want to make a part of the meal. I want to make a part of the meal so that we're even. And this brings us into happiness, right? It's this concept of non-stealing. I can't see the chat, and I can't, none of the numbers are working. You know how Instagram does that sometimes? So on my end, I can only see what just happened in the beginning. So just so that you know, if there's something in the chat, I'm sorry, I'm not ignoring you. Okay. So next is brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is sexual responsibility. So all of these things that we're doing them to reduce what we call the chitta vrittis. The chitta vrittis are mentioned in the second sutra of the Yoga Sutras. And there's about 400 sutras, okay? And so the second one, they talk about the chitta vrittis. Chitta vritti nirodha. We want to get rid of the chitta vrittis. The chitta vrittis are the modifications of the mind. So imagine a time, and I'm sure that you had this time, because I had this time, and probably some of people listening had this time, where you were just so in love with someone, and you were just thinking about them all the time, and they broke up with you, and you were crying, and you were just upset, and and these things. This is why brahmacharya is important, this sexual responsibility, because if we're sexually irresponsible, then what happens is that we can't find calm and peace in our body and our minds. just like we practice ahimsa to not make our body a graveyard and not eat the fear, pain, and suffering of animals, we also don't want to put this erratic thoughts into our minds through having irresponsible sexual relationships. Now, when you have sex with someone as a woman, when a man puts his penis inside, I'm just going to be real here. When a man puts his penis inside him, you're actually transferring DNA with each other. You're literally transferring DNA with each other that will remain there for the next 7 years. So when we have sex with someone, when we commune with them, we are joining with their energy on a scientific level. So we want to think really clearly, like, do I want that person's energy in my body? Do I want their DNA makeup to become part of my DNA makeup? And this is what brahmacharya is talking about. So that is the fourth of the yamas. And so we're still on the first step of yoga. We haven't even gotten to the third step, which is physical practice. So the last of the yamas is a paragrapha. And this is non-hoarding, if we hoard and we keep a lot around us, if we hoard food, if we hoard things, if we hoard clothing, any of that stuff, what we're doing is we're saying that spirit can't provide for us. That's what we're saying to the universe. We're saying spirit, God, Ishvara is what we say in yoga, that spirit can't provide for us. And we're saying to the universe that we have a mentality of lack. And so we want to not hoard because we want to believe that the world is an abundant place, because it is. And when we see the world as non-abundant, it's our pratriki fooling us, making us think that it's not abundant, but it truly is abundant. Okay, so that's the first limb. But you can see how doing these things and incorporating them into your life, and we're not talking about the physical practice of yoga, right? We're talking about the philosophy of yoga, the science of yoga, what yoga can actually do to transform and change your life. And imagine if you're incorporating raw living foods into this yoga practice, how powerful that can be to change your life. And it's sometimes hard, and I don't know for you, Lissa, but for me, sometimes it's hard for me to remember what it was like when I was in the midst of the Chitta Vrittis, because I've made so many shifts in my life, to really come to this place of truly living my yoga. So when people say, do you practice yoga every day? Well, yes, I practice yoga every day. I absolutely practice the science of yoga every day, every single day of my life. If you are a vegan, you are practicing ahimsa. You are practicing the first step of yoga every single day. You didn't even know you're a yogi. You didn't know it.
That's awesome, because I love that it's so much more than just the poses, because westernized views of it are just like, oh, if you do the pose, you're doing yoga. But it's so much more than that. It's like the philosophy of how to live a joyful, beautiful, abundant, awesome life, right? It's all part of that whole thing. Just
it really is. It really is. Okay, so moving into step 2, which is the niyamas. Okay, so the first was the yamas, the next is the niyamas, Niyama. First is Yama, second is Niyama, niyamas. So the first is socha, which is purity or cleanliness. So when we do our practice, the Hatha Yoga Pradipika says that we should do our practice in a clean place, free from pests, like free from bugs. But we always, like, before you practice yoga, you want to shower. You want to be clean going into your yoga practice, okay? But also we want to practice cleanliness in our whole life. Like, think about if your space that you work in is organized, how much more you get done. If you don't have clutter, if you do the dishes after you're finished, if you wipe off the countertops, how much easier is it to make your next raw meal, right? Because you have all the space cleaned up. You're going to love it when you come over to the house next, because we recently bought a big shelf for all of our appliances, for the Ninja Creamy, for the Vitamix, for the dehydrator, for the juicer, all this. We have a whole shelf now. So now all our countertops are totally clear. Yeah, you're going to love it.
Love it.
So this cleanliness, but it's not just cleanliness of your area, but cleanliness of the mind. And this comes back to what we were talking about, like no, scary movies, dramas, like things that really upset you. It's called programming for a reason. It's programming your mind.
Right.
It is not normal to drive through Europe and hit people with your car and shoot them with guns, right? Jason Bourne isn't real.
Right.
And there really isn't any reason to watch that. Because those things in my mind, like movies and stuff like that, it's just, of course there's a time and a place for it, but primarily it's stealing our time. It's stealing time away from doing something joyful like gardening or prepping your meals or doing a yoga practice or hiking up a mountain or building your health or spending time with your dog, who's standing outside my door right now. He really wants to come in. And then next is santosha, or contentment. So it's where we feel content with what we have. That doesn't mean that we don't I need to let him in. Hold on a second, because he's really upset. He's really
I like that you said that contentment, and it's not about not aiming for more or not like striving to reach goals or to create new things or whatever, but being content with what exists at this very moment and being
You
happy
were not
with
content
that.
outside there.
Yeah, Dino.
Being joyful and happy with what we have doesn't mean that we can't create more. I'm wildly happy with my home. I'm wildly happy with my students that I work with online. I'm enjoying being on this live. I'm loving like this bundle and preparing all these new foods that all these different creators have made. But at the same time, I really want to buy a catamaran. Like I want a big sailboat. So I am also planning my big sailboat. There's nothing wrong with, excuse us, we're going to have a meeting now. Thank you. There's nothing wrong with wanting more or different or new experiences, but being content and happy with what you have actually leads to bringing those new experiences. Because fully enjoying what you have and not living in fear that it might go away, acceptance that the only thing that's going to happen is it will change. So fully enjoy what you have now, because the only thing that is definite and for sure is that it's going to change. It's not going to remain like this forever. I won't live in this house forever, I won't live in Las Vegas forever. I won't live on a boat forever. Everything will change. When I owned the yoga studio, I would say to people, I don't want to own a yoga studio forever. I want to do something different. And people would just be so upset, like, oh God, what if the studio isn't here? And I'm like, you have to do other things with your life. You have to do lots of things. Life is so short. And, now that I'm halfway through my life, if I'm lucky, I'm realizing that there were so many choices I could have made that I didn't. And there's so many things to do and so many things to live. So being content with what you have and fully embracing and being grateful for where you are right now is a reflection to the universe that you are grateful. And gratitude is the highest vibration. So when we're out here doing gratitude for what we have, the universe wants to give us more. Yeah.
I know. I love that you said that. A long time ago, I was listening to someone, I don't remember who it was, but they said that if you're living in like a place that you don't really like, or you're like having challenges at your job or whatever it is, if you aren't grateful for what you have now, how can you be grateful for what you have later? right? Like practicing, the whole thing was about like getting a bigger house. That was what I was listening to. And they're like, if you don't clean your house now, and if you don't take care of your house now, you're like your little box, your little 1-bedroom apartment that you're living in. Because yes, you have your goals and whatever, but if you're not actually loving the place that you're in right now, how will you love and take care of the place that you'll have later? Because you're not creating those habits of gratitude, of the cleanliness, of whatever it is, right? So like, yeah, practice the gratitude right now. Right now, that goes for bodies as well. Like we're so focused on the healing, the eventual results, the body that we want to get, or whatever it is, right? We're so focused on that instead of actually loving our body right now exactly the way it is. Because like you said, it's always going to change. Your body fluctuates. We age. It's just a natural part of being human. We're not dolls. We're not going to be the same for, ever. Like we change and it's okay to change, but to really be grateful for where you're at right now. Because, I saw there's this one reel that's been going on around the audio. It's like in 20 years from now, you're going to look back on today and you're going to wish you had the same health. You're going to wish you had the same body. Like, because when we age, that's when we look back and we see what we were missing out on instead of actually fully enjoying the very moment.
For sure. When I moved out of my parents' house, I really didn't understand nutrition at all. I was a very bad vegetarian because my family didn't support my choice to be a vegetarian and really kind of left me up to my own devices. So it was a lot of macaroni and cheese, frozen pizzas, French fries. French fries are a staple.
Yeah.
But and I had to learn to eat other things, I think Denise Austin was a big part of that. She would say, like, if you eat broccoli every day, your body will learn to crave broccoli. And I was like, oh, okay. But I think there's a lot of confusing information out there. There's a lot of information that's very confusing about diet and what's right and what's not right. And I think here's the first thing. One is that everybody is different. Every person's experience is different. Mm-hmm. So what's right for you is not right for me. Everyone has to do it differently. The other thing is that get something like this, like the bundle. Get the bundle, because there is so many resources in here. I wish that there was something like this that had existed when I was 20 years old, because there's so many resources in here to tell you how to do a 7-day reset. Or, I love Lexi's course, DBT Skills, where she talks about mindset and how to get yourself set up for success and how to think differently. I was talking to her this morning about some of my food choices, and she was like, what resonates with you? I was asking for her advice and her opinion, and she was like, no, she put it back on me. What do you want? And so there's a lot of really incredible offerings in the bundle that can help you make those decisions about what do you want. And truly, I can't make it for you, and Lissa can't make it for you. But the more you have at your fingertips, the more you can make a decision that you'll be happy with.
Exactly. Yeah, Watermelon Lime is saying in the chat, I really wish they would teach mindfulness in schools. I still struggle to enjoy the moment, but I never need the complicated math stuff I learned. Right? I know, they don't teach us how to enjoy our life and how to live in the moment and how to grow our own food and how to be kind to other people and how to be kind to ourselves. And we're not taught that. And
there's a reason why. And that's a whole nother conversation. We cannot rely on our educators. We cannot rely on our politicians. We cannot rely on our governments. We cannot rely on our supervisors, our jobs. We cannot rely on anyone else to tell us what the truth is for us. You absolutely have to go out and seek the information on your own. And starting with the bundle is a great way to do that, because the bundle is going to give you a lot of information. And something that someone told me a long time ago that has really stuck with me, and I hope that you take this piece of wisdom with you. Don't take advice from anyone who doesn't have what you want. So if you want to have the happiness that Lissa and I have, if you want to live a radiant life full of glow, if you want to have some of the physical changes that some of the people in the bundle have experienced, if you want to live a life filled with joy and happiness, if you want to change your mindset, if you want to take your Patriki, your lens, your filter, and make it look different, grab the bundle and think of it as a resource. Do you have to implement everything in there? No. Do look through it and see what you want to implement. I'm not saying that it's this magic pill, it's gonna have all the answers. It is a step in the direction. Yes. When in 12 steps programs, they call it good orderly direction, right? It's like just a way of seeing the world from people who have what you want, you know. I don't take advice from my aunt on finances because she does not have financially what I want. You know, we were on our walk this morning with the dog, and I was thinking about, I bought, there's this influencer that I saw on YouTube, and I bought her juicing book for like juicing recipes, and it was $6.99. And the book was literally, it did not have a cover page. It did not have an end page. It was 6 pages. It was poorly formatted. I paid $7 for this thing. And she did minimum effort. And that was a freebie at best, in my opinion. And I thought about, though, how lucky I am to have met you, because you really taught me about how to over deliver on social media. And everything that you know, a lot of what you buy on the internet is crap. And so I know that people are like afraid to buy things on the internet because it's crap. But I have to tell you, I've looked through this bundle, and I know that Lissa is one of the people who heads up the bundle and helps to organize it. Everyone over delivers. You get so much value, thousands of times more value than what you pay for when you grab the bundle. There's so much. There are 3 or 4 yoga courses. There's a sound course. There's a manifesting course. There's mindset courses. And that's in addition to all the raw recipes that will last you for a year. You'll never even have to make the same food twice. You know, like, there's so much information in the bundle. It's very over delivering. So if you're worried about value, know that there's so much in this bundle that's full of value to really help you. We have 10 minutes left, and I just wanted to go over the last 3 of the niyamas. We aren't going to make it to the other 8 lands. But the next of the niyamas is tapa.
Oh, before we begin, if people want to learn the next of the 8 limbs, go follow Angelica and learn from her. She posts so much value. You're going to learn a lot. So yeah, if you want to learn the other 8 or the other 5, go follow her. Okay, go ahead. Okay. 6. Yeah.
All right. So the third of the niyamas is tapas, and it means like perseverance, heat, focus. And this is where the hard part comes in, where we do the hard part, you know, which is on the days that we don't want to stick to our yoga routine, we still get up and we do it. On the days that we don't want to meal prep, we still do it because we know it's an act of self-love. So we continue to tapas is the things that it's the heat that we create in our life. It's the perseverance, the focus, the determination, the motivation, but more than motivation, the discipline, right? And then next is Sarivaya, which is the study of the self. So continuing to always study the self, reading scriptures, reading books, getting information, more information about being better at being yourself. So buying bundle. Yeah.
Getting the bundle.
Because it's just filled with information about how you can be a better you. Like, it truly is a great opportunity. And I know that people, we get a lot coming at us as far as like, buy this, buy this, buy this. But I really believe that people will not be disappointed if you take the step to get this bundle. If what you're looking for is to do more self-study and to have a life that you feel more joy in, and that's great, right? That's what everyone wants, right? All you have to do is go and grab this bundle, and it will help you on the journey, because you're going to not only, like, the bundle's not going to solve all your problems, but it's going to set you out into this web of all these different people. Because if you look at the bundle and you get all these different offerings, and say we're looking at like Chef Yin's course, okay? Well, Chef Yin also offers like a wealth of other courses. So now you're exposed to Chef Yin, who's someone you never would have thought you had in your circle. And the internet can be social media can be an incredibly wonderful place if you tailor it to be that. They say that the 5 people you surround yourself with are the people that you're most like. Well, what if you don't have those people in your life? What if people in your life don't support you?
Right.
The places like Instagram can build that support network for you. I know, because I lived remote for 5 years. I lived in a camper and on a boat. And so it was just me and Paul, and I couldn't be surrounded by other people. So I made a whole network of friends that support me and people that I follow and want to be like and take their advice and listen to what they offer through Instagram and TikTok, So I think that if you are lacking in that area, something like the bundle can help you to catapult into being surrounded by people who are living a life that you want to live, which in turn will attract people in the real world, IRL, that are also doing the things that you want to do, because you'll naturally just be vibrating on this other vibration, and you'll attract in your life the people who are like what you are. So the last of the niyamas, perfect timing, because I do have a client at noon. She's actually, her name is Quinicia. She's like a star student. Every time I meet with her, she's done like 10 times extra. So yeah, she's really focused. She's fantastic. I enjoy working with her. So the last is Ishvara Pranahana, which is devotion and dedication to God. Nowhere in the Yoga Sutras does it say Ganesha. Nowhere in the Yoga Sutras does it say Shiva or Jesus or Buddha or Muhammad. It just says devotion to God. God of your true understanding and your choice. Again, just like the 12 steps. If you've ever been in AA or in OA or any of, NA, any of those programs, you know that they say the same thing. That they're like, just pick a God, any God, and devote yourself to them. We call that practice bhakti in yoga. There's actually a bhakti yoga section in the bundle. Kavita teaches bhakti yoga. So that's in there. So if you have been on this live for any period of time and you haven't gone and grabbed the bundle, we will not be offended if you go to the link in either of our profile and get the bundle, because truly all this stuff is in there, and it can really help you to start having the joy and happiness that you deserve. You deserve it, right? You absolutely deserve it. Every single one of us do. Do you think that you don't deserve it? You do deserve it, right? That's just a thought that you put in your brain. You absolutely do. Get the bundle, take the chance. It's $50. It's not the end of your world. Grant Cardone always says, like, you're not going to go broke from one meal out. Like, you're not going to grow broke from one trip to Target. It's, it's like, it's all these other things that, it's the accumulation of efforts, but the accumulation of efforts is the same on a positive spectrum. The more you bring wonderful, abundant things into your life, the more wonderful, abundant things are going to come into your life, right? So get the bundle. Don't hesitate. Go and grab it, because it could be the catalyst that you need to really make your pratriki, your view of the world, the way that you would like to see it.
Exactly. Oh, I love our lives.
So good.
Nate's in the back. He's like, so good. Oh, we love you, Angelica. Thank you so much for joining on the live. And yes, anybody, link in our bios, link in the chat, link in description. We've got it there for you to go grab the bundle. It ends in just over 3 days. So it ends on Thursday night, May 11th. If you want it, get it now, because we won't be selling this bundle ever again in this way. So this specific collection of ebooks is only available for the next 3 days. So get it now before it's gone. We love you so much. Thank you again.
Lissa.
Thank you again.
I'll see you soon.
All right. Mwah. I'll see you soon.